We're going to have an opportunity to recognize a legislator, and we're excited about this. Let me just mention before our break, we talk about public policy, we advocate for public policy, and we believe in the importance of public policy. And we work with the incoming governor to give that governor a blueprint. We also work with members of the General Assembly. Without their vote and their support, we would not be the Virginia we are today. And we've been fortunate to have Republicans and Democrats that support our business-friendly environment. And I'm excited to announce the Legislator of the Year for the Senate first. To help me do this, I've asked Rob Bohannon with Hunt and Andrews Kurth to help me. He couldn't be here, so we phoned it in. That's what everyone's doing these days. So if you'll turn your attention to the screen for 1 minute, and then we'll have him say a few words about our Senate Legislator of the Year, and then I'll ask the Senator to come up and join me. So let's play Rob's video.
Thank you, Barry. Hunt and Andrews Kurth is proud to support the Virginia Chamber and this economic summit. It is now my pleasure to introduce the 2021 Legislator of the Year from the Virginia Senate. This year's Legislator of the Year award is presented to someone who has demonstrated his support for Virginia businesses throughout his years in the General Assembly. In the 2021 General and Special Session of the General Assembly, this senator played an instrumental role in negotiating legislation that impacted the business community and other stakeholders. His background as an attorney focusing on commercial and property rights law informs a lot of his thinking when it comes to legislation affecting businesses. I have always appreciated his ability to understand the impacts that many bills will have on those businesses that must comply with them, and how he is not afraid to break with his colleagues when he identifies an issue of concern. My colleagues and I often say he's one of the legislators that best has his finger on the pulse of what his constituents want. He stays connected with his district, he's active in the community he grew up in, and he never forgets who elected him to office. And he's always available and accessible to discuss other perspectives. This senator has been an advocate for small businesses and is known for his support of government efficiency and accountability. He has worked to improve the quality of education and workforce training in the Commonwealth, key issues identified in Blueprint Virginia 2025. Please join me in welcoming to the stage this year's Legislator of the Year from the Senate, Senator Chap Petersen.
Please recognize Chap Petersen. Chap.
Well, you know what? Let me put this right here. Let's try that.
It's all about the photo.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank
Wow.
you. I'll let this sit right here for you.
Yep.
Oh, hope we didn't get that in the wrong order. Thank you.
Wow. That's extraordinary. I have a mantelpiece at my law firm where we put all the awards, and we're gonna have to get a new mantelpiece.
I don't want you to forget about it.
No, I won't. This is not something I'll forget very quickly. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, all of you. It's great to see you. And I got to admit, there's a certain irony. If you followed my career, I've been in the legislature 20 years. When I came in, I was a little bit of a rabble rouser, and I was in the Democratic minority. And, I clashed a little bit with the elders in the House of Delegates. And as a result, when my rating came out from one of the business, not this organization, but another business organization, I was ranked at near the bottom for being not in support of business. But that was balanced by the fact I was ranked at the very bottom of 100 out of effectiveness. So you might expect I'm a commercial attorney. I represent small businesses. So one of my clients called me because, these folks had supported me when I ran for office. They said, Chap, it says that you're anti-business. You called me and asked me to donate to your campaign, and I thought you were pro-business. And I said, okay, at least I'm ineffective, okay? And we both agreed it was a wash, so we didn't ask for his money back. No, it was not Jim Dyke, by the way. But anyways, this is a great honor. I wanted to start with a joke because I'm actually not here to say a lot of funny things. I actually want to talk about a lot of serious things because the past 2 years have been unprecedented. And there's been a panel of experts that are people that are much more accomplished than I am. But there are people that maybe were not represented on that panel that when the economy shut down 18 months ago, were worried if they were going to go into bankruptcy personally. And I was one of those people. Maybe you were too. And so what I'm going to do is I actually wrote down a speech for the first time since 1986 when I spoke to my graduating class at Fairfax High School. And I never speak from a speech, but I wanted to be precise in what I said, because what I said, what I'm going to say is not poll tested. It's not in any way sort of safe. And quite frankly, you will be the focus group. But I want to say something that's important to me, because I have the opportunity to speak to a group of people that are influential. And in a month, we're going to go into session, and I will be somebody that will be in a position to direct the public policy of this Commonwealth. And I want to tell you where I stand. Let me start with this. COVID-19 obviously has had a huge impact, not just on our economy, but on our lives. The restrictions based upon COVID-19 in the long term are not sustainable. Eventually, they're going to have to come to an end, especially the restrictions on children. I look around this room and I see 98% of us are not wearing masks, and that's fine. I'm not wearing one. I think we're all vaccinated. I go to my child's high school. They're all wearing masks. Okay. Now they're actually less vulnerable to COVID-19 than we are, but they're wearing masks. And they were the ones that had school closed for a year. And I'm going to get to that in a second. They had their activities canceled for a year. We have treated our children as second-class citizens for the past 2 years. We've not afforded them the same rights or conveniences that we take for granted. It's not right. It's not right. And in fact, as I look at, and I have 4 children, and next to being being a dad's the most important thing in my life. And that's going to change in 2022. I promise you that's going to change. My child, your grandchild, your niece, your nephew will never again be considered a second-class person when it comes to these types of issues. They have a right to enjoy life just like you and me. That's number one. Number two, and this is probably less controversial. Our state has a multi-billion-dollar surplus right now, multi-billion-dollar, and it's going to aggregate. That's not because of good stewardship. I'll tell you why it is. It's because we didn't conform our tax laws to the federal government after they changed their tax policy in 2018, or after they passed the PPP tax program in 2020. We didn't conform. So as a result, we have aggregated more money in our treasury. That's fine, but we're not a bank, okay? And then we are going to pass legislation this year, because I'm going to sponsor it, that's going to return some of this money to our citizens by raising the standard deduction that all families have to pay, or all families can benefit from, because at the end of the day, it's their money, it's not ours. That's point number two. And by the way, that's a Democratic issue, and I'm a Democrat. That's a Democratic issue when we give money back to working people. Number three, thousands of small businesses went out of business in 2020 based on a very sweeping exercise of legal authority. In my opinion, it was not constitutional. As to the effect of those policies, I'll let history be the judge. I think at a minimum, it's debatable. In June 2020, I filed suit on behalf of a small business owner named Linda Park. Linda was a Korean immigrant, restaurant owner. She put her life savings into a restaurant that was closed for months. For months. I filed suit, went up to the Virginia Supreme Court, we lost. And basically the point of my suit was the exercise of executive authority has to have limits on it. It can't just be unsustained. It can't just be uncontrolled. There has to be limits on executive authority. And Linda's not here today, she's working. But I will tell you that protecting small business isn't always a popular issue. I was vilified on social media. I couldn't even look at my social media accounts for a year, and that's fine. I mean, I signed up for this job, I was stupid enough to do it. But the bottom line is, I do believe that at the end, freedom's always going to win. And giving people the right, the freedom to own a business, to operate that business, to succeed in that business. That's what this country's about. I'm going to close with the following. You know, when I was a young man, director Spike Lee came out with a movie called Do the Right Thing. That's a great movie. It's just one of those movies that you watch when you're a college student and it stays with you. And there was a gentleman in that movie that he had a motto that he would use to address every situation. Doctor, always do the right thing. And when people come to me for advice, whether it's an attorney in my law firm or somebody who's thinking about running for office and, you know, they're faced with a situation, an ethical situation, I always tell them, doctor, always do the right thing. So again, I'm very honored you all have given me this gift. I hope I didn't insult anybody with my blunt comments, but to be honest, I'm here to tell you what I think. I don't expect everyone to agree with me. I honor the fact that people do not agree with me, but what I really honor is the chance to be an American and participate in this organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chap. Thank you so much, Senator. We appreciate your candidness and your willingness to work across the aisle, and we recognize it. Look forward to continuing to work with you. The legislator for the House of Delegates is also an important person who has received a 100% grade from the General Assembly every year he has served in the General Assembly. And he's the only person who's ever received 100% ranking from the Chamber of Commerce. And his presenter, Steve DeLuca with Capital One, has presented this award for several years in a row. Either Steve or the legislator are here, but both of them phoned it in. So if you'll just turn your attention to the screen, this will take a couple of minutes and then we'll go to our break.
Thank you, Barry, for the kind introduction, and apologies that I can't be with you today in person. Capital One is pleased to continue its support of this event and recognize the 2021 Legislator of the Year from the Virginia House of Delegates. This year's House Legislator of the Year award is presented to a member who has demonstrated outstanding leadership on business issues and is a longtime supporter of the priorities outlined in Blueprint Virginia 2025. He has a lifetime A rating with the Virginia Chamber and a proven record of standing with businesses on issues impacting Virginia's business climate and national rankings, such as preserving the right to work law. He is a successful and self-made business owner and works tirelessly to promote economic growth and job creation in his home region of Hampton Roads and across the Commonwealth. He is a senior member of the House Appropriations Committee and plays an important role in overseeing the state's multi-billion-dollar budget. He works across the aisle with colleagues from both chambers and both parties to support Virginia's business community. Unfortunately, he also cannot be with us in person today, but he has prepared some remarks. Please join me in recognizing the House Legislator of the Year, Delegate Barry Knight.
Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. I'd like to thank the Virginia Chamber of Commerce for honoring me with this award, Legislator of the Year. Hardworking character defined my life. I started at a very young age mowing lawns in my neighborhood, buying a lawnmower, and paying my own expenses. I filled a savings and loan book with entries in multiples of $3. That is what I charged per yard. After that, I was offered a job on Mr. Brown's farm at the age of 14 years old. I worked for him after school and weekends. When I graduated from high school, he offered me a full-time job, paid me by the week, and let me farm some land on my own, using his equipment for free, but paying all my own expenses. And I used some of his old hog buildings to raise my own hogs. When things on the farm got slow in the wintertime, I drove tractor trailers hauling oil long distance. It was a union shop, and this was in the late 70s. Some of the guys tried to persuade me to join the union. I said I'd rather not. Their persuasion was, let's say, rather persistent, but I prevailed. I was the only one out of over 100 drivers that wasn't a union member. After saving my money, I went and bought my own farm at 26 years of age. The bank wasn't very receptive until my mom and stepdad offered to put their house up as additional collateral. It's a lot of pressure for a 26-year-old. Since that time, I've managed to pay for the farm and be successful. I relate these stories to you to let you know I understand business, free enterprise, and the hard work it requires. I am your advocate because I've lived what we all go through. So thank you, Virginia Chamber, for this award, and I know I'll continue to do my best in Richmond for the Commonwealth, its business, and the people that I represent. And thank you very much again.